Elaine. My husband used my body, not knowing it would be the last time he had me. I'd grown fed up and given up hope that he'd ever learn to love me. What a silly notion. I'd been foolish to think that would ever happen. You seem different, he purred as he began ravaging my lips. Tristan loved total control in bed. But this time I didn't allow myself to be the receiver of pleasure. Surprisingly, I was the one leading him on. Hey, take it easy, he whispered, but it fell on deaf ears. I focused on satisfying him first, on giving him a night to remember, before submitting myself to him and allowing him to enter my body. Considering it would be our last time, it might as well be good. I was filing for divorce in the morning. If anyone heard what I was thinking of doing, they might call me stupid. After all, I was married to Tristan Hale, was the esteemed alpha of Wolf's Silver Pack, and I was appointed to be his Luna. Anyone who might know my story might think I was a real-life Cinderella. If only I had a fairy tale, because I never had a happy ending. Sadly, my story was anything but happy. Just before my 7th birthday, a rogue attack landed me in the hospital. When I awoke, I found my warrior parents had died in the attack, and I had no wolf. I'd also been stripped of everything and relegated to the lowly position of a maid in exchange for basic sustenance. I became one of the Omegas serving the Alpha family. One night, I stumbled upon an attempt on Luna Isabel's life and intervened, earning a scar on my back. But I had saved her, and my act of heroism had garnered the admiration of Alpha Roman and the gratitude of Luna Isabel, leading them to propose a marriage between me and their son, Tristan. I agreed, considering that Tristan didn't oppose the idea, so I had agreed. Throughout the years, I tried so hard to win his love, and did everything I could to prove I was worthy of being his wife. But to no avail. He never fully accepted me, instead continually favoring his she-wolf mistress, Megan Smith. So I planned to just run away and give him his freedom, but not after this night to remember, hoping the memory of it would be enough for me to move on with my new life. A few seconds after his release, his phone rang. The way his eyes lit up upon answering was enough for me to know it was Megan. My heart grew heavy. Okay, hon, I'll be there in a few, Tristan said before ending the call. He quickly got out of bed and retrieved his clothing from the floor. My heart became heavy with realization. One call from Megan, and he was ready to run to her, completely forgetting about the passion we had shared just a few minutes ago. Fearing I might break down in front of him, I silently retrieved my clothes from the floor as well and began dressing. At the very least, I had hoped I could get to spend the rest of the night with him beside me. How foolish of me. In an attempt to get him to reconsider, I blurted out the words, "Tristan, let's get a divorce. Let's end this 3-year-long loveless marriage, shall we?" Tristan's playful teasing stung as he mocked me. "Don't always threaten me with that again," he sneered. "You keep on saying you're going to divorce me. Yet, I still have to bear with your attitude," he scoffed, shaking his head. "Stop with this nonsense. You're the Luna of this pack. Act accordingly." Though I desperately tried to control them, tears escaped my eyes. Gathering the remaining courage in me, I looked into his eyes and said, "This time it's real. I can't take this torture anymore. Let's free each other from the shackles of this forced union." "Yeah, right," he said. After buttoning his shirt, he looked at me with disgust. "This is what you get for manipulating my parents into marrying me. Deal with it." The coldness of his voice was enough to send shivers down my spine. He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him and leaving me alone to deal with my misery. I should have been used to his treatment by now. Despite my relentless efforts to capture his affection throughout the years, Tristan's disdain for me was always palpable, and no attempt I made melted the ice around his heart, ended in disappointment. Tears streamed throughout the night as I grappled with the harsh reality of our failed marriage. By morning, I steeled myself to confront the inevitable. With trembling hands, I reached for the divorce papers I had painstakingly prepared, determined to finalize our separation once and for all. The weight of resignation settled heavily upon me as I readied myself to go to the council hall. But just as I prepared to leave, a knock echoed through the stillness of our home. I opened the door to Megan, who even kissed my cheeks as though we were friends to begin with. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying my best to control my emotions. "Oh, nothing important really," she said nonchalantly. "I just wanted to show you this." She flashed a lovely diamond ring on her finger. My heart felt ripped from my chest as I looked at the symbol of love I had never received from my husband. Is that? Yes, Elaine. Tristan gave this to me last night. Isn't it cute? Emotions flared, but I worked to keep my voice steady when I said, "Leave. Now." "Oh, don't be such a bad sport," Megan teased. "You knew right from the start that Tristan's heart was mine. You should." I said leave. Now. I pushed her out, ignoring her curses outside as I felt my world was suddenly halted. I felt numb, still in shock at the turn of events. I had expected Tristan to wait until we were divorced before making his relationship with Megan official, but it seemed I'd been wrong yet again. Why did I keep believing that Tristan cared about my feelings? Wasn't the 3 years of hell he put me through enough for me to stop my delusions? With my mind filled with questions, I dialed his number. As expected, Tristan ignored my call. Frustrated, I kept dialing. It wasn't until I heard the sound of an operator that I realized he'd shut off his phone. Shouting in frustration, I threw my phone at the wall, sending its shattered pieces flying in the air. "I need to speak with him," I whispered to myself. Grabbing the car keys, I hurried to the back door of the old garage to the car Tristan allowed me to use. A bitter smile crossed my lips. Just last week, he had bought Megan an expensive car, while I was left with his old, worn-out vehicle. So much for being the Luna of the pack. I immediately stepped on the pedal as I maneuvered the car onto the road, wondering why Tristan hated me. What had I done to merit such mistreatment from him when all I'd tried to do for the past 3 years was to gain his affection? Was it really wrong for me to love him like this? I held onto the wheel tightly, my heart ripping into tiny little pieces. Then, I pressed the brake to slow down as I navigated a curve. Nothing happened. I pressed it harder. When I received no response, I pressed the pedal all the way to the floor. Still nothing. Panic overtook me as I lost control of how to stop the car. But I couldn't find a way out. The only choice left was to crash into something. I braced myself for the crash as I saw a big tree looming closer and watched as I careened toward a tree. This was it. I was done for. "Maybe I'll see my parents soon," I said, preparing for the worst. With a deafening crash, the car collided with the tree. The impact thrusted me lurching forward, the seatbelt digging into my chest. For a moment my vision went dark. Then everything hurt, and I felt hot liquid on my head, making me feel weak and numb all over. Hot liquid streamed down my forehead, and my eyelids grew heavy, and I knew it was almost over for me. As I let them slip closed, a voice in my head said, "Don't worry, Elaine. I'll help you get revenge." Elaine. A soft, golden light shined around me. Everything I knew about the world disappeared as if I had been transported to another realm. Then the golden light called upon me. "Elaine. Who are you? How do you know my name?" I asked, as the light soothed my worries. Just hearing its voice made me feel better. "I'm Nia, and I'm your spirit wolf," came the reply. "You're kidding." I couldn't help but laugh. "I am wolfless, and I've come to terms with that already." "But it's true," the voice persisted. "Trying to explain why you can sense me now is difficult, so I won't delve into that. What's important thing is that I'm here now, and I'll always be with you as your friend. You won't be alone anymore, Elaine. I will be your companion forever." Her last statement flattered my heart, and even though I couldn't see her form, I could feel her smiling at me. A lone tear escaped my eyes. Warmth and comfort like none I'd ever experienced flooded my senses. "Bestie, thank God you're awake." I opened my eyes to see my best friend, Liz, with tears streaming down her face. She held my hand, looking agitated but relieved. "Liz, what are you doing here? Where am I?" I asked, scanning the room. With the white walls, a steel bed, and the smell of antiseptic, it was clear I was in the hospital. "The question is, what am I doing here? You scared the hell out of me," Liz shouted as she threw herself at me. She clung to me as if I had been brought back from the dead, and the way her shoulders moved up and down indicated she was crying non-stop. Eventually, she lifted her head and peered at me. "Good thing your healing power was activated somehow. If not, you surely would have died." Healing power? How could I have that power if I didn't have a wolf? Wait. Was the dream real? Did I really meet Nia? "That's right, Elaine. I'm as real as it gets," Nia confirmed inside my head, startling me. But no one should know about me though. Let's keep it that way for now, for your protection. Can you do that, Of course, Nia, you can count on me, I said without hesitation, assuring her that I would keep our little secret. Just then, Liz pulled away from me and asked, "How's your head feeling?" She asked casually. I furrowed my brows in response. I felt great headache. "Why am I in the hospital?" I exclaimed. "You had a car accident." Liz protested. "Accident? I've been in an accident." I put a hand to my head and felt bandages, and my body felt sore all over. "A car accident, yes," Liz confirmed. She then lightly caressed my shoulder, looking concerned. "I can't believe Tristan Hale didn't even bother to visit you here." "Tristan? Why would the alpha heir of Wolf Silver Pack bother to visit me?" I said sarcastically, expecting Liz to tell me she'd said that as a joke. Instead, her eyes widened, and she couldn't seem to find the next words to say. "Tristan is now the alpha. His father is dead." I gaped. "Alpha Roman is dead? Since when? How come I didn't know?" Liz palmed her forehead, looking even more concerned. An awkward silence followed before she said, "You're married to Alpha Tristan, Elaine." My ears twitched upon hearing her words. Me married to Tristan Hale? Was this some kind of a joke? "Elaine, come on, Liz. Quit playing." I chuckled while nudging her on her side. "I shouldn't have not trusted you with my secret. Besides, I'm only 18. I haven't even found my destined mate yet. How could I attract someone like Tristan? He was out of my league, and the thought of me being married to him was absurd." "You really don't remember anything, do you?" Liz uttered. I looked at her straight in the eyes before she slumped into the nearby chair next to my bed. Again, an awkward silence hovered. She took a deep breath, as if she was relieved about something. "Well, maybe it's for the best. I mean, what good would it do you to remember that bastard anyway?" She pulled a compact mirror from her purse and handed it to me. "There. Look at yourself and tell me what you see." I looked the same, only a little older and stressed, with small lines formed on my forehead and bags under my eyes. It appeared I hadn't gotten a decent sleep, though I wasn't sure why not. I shifted my gaze to Liz. "What's going on? I don't understand what's happening. You're not 18, Elaine. You're 23, and you've been married to Tristan for 3 years." The mirror slipped from my hands, shattering on the hard cemented floor. Despite the room's cold temperature, beads of sweat formed on my forehead. 5 years had passed, and I had no recollection of any of it? And I was married to Tristan Hale? The door pushed open, revealing a familiar man. It was Jared Cole, Tristan's best friend. When Liz acknowledged him as Beta, which meant he'd elevated in rank when Tristan became the Alpha. He carried a basket full of fruit, yet didn't look happy delivering it to be making the delivery. Jared was a loyal friend to Tristan. Perhaps he shared animosity towards me? I couldn't imagine he'd be happy that Tristan had ended up married to a lowly maid. Even I was struggling to make peace with that. "The council members send their regards," Jared said coldly, referencing the basket as he placed it on a nearby table. I smiled faintly. "Please tell the council that the gesture is highly appreciated." "Why are you the one who bought this, Beta Jared?" Liz asked. "Where's the Alpha Tristan?" Jared shot her a smirk. "He's busy governing the pack. He can't waste his time on trivial matters," he said with a dismissive wave of his hand. "But this is nothing but trivial, Beta Jared," Liz rebutted. "The Luna almost died." Liz said, "That's anything but trivial. I'm sure the Alpha wouldn't mind sparing her some of his time, considering they're husband and wife." Jared's hidden irritation finally bubbled to the surface, and he spoke sarcastically. "Perhaps next time," Jared sneered. "The Luna should consider her Alpha husband before staging such an accident. If she seeks attention, she could do so by attending to her pack duties instead." I may be risking my tongue for saying this, but as the Beta and Alpha Tristan's best friend, I can't help but feel that the Luna's actions have brought shame upon our pack. Who in their right mind would drive and crash a faulty vehicle unless they desired an accident to gain attention? I clenched my wrist, trying to suppress the anger in me. I touched my outrage at such a ridiculous assertion. "You may leave now," I said, opting for civility, despite wanting to burst into anger. "You may now leave," I said. With that, Jared bowed his head and quickly exited the room. Liz was flabbergasted, wanting to confront the beta, but I stopped Liz, knowing that she didn't have the status to go against him, so she reluctantly took my advice and calmed herself while I tried to absorb everything I'd learned since waking. How would I weather the storm of events that would obviously ensue? If I had any hope of navigating my current life, I needed more information. I turned to Liz and asked, "Can you fill me in? What's happened over these past years? I need to know everything, especially regarding my marriage to Alpha Tristan." Liz heaved a sigh before starting to narrate everything that transpired. "Elaine." I gave Liz my full attention as she told me the highlights of the events that shaped my present life. "After you got married, you kept trying to please Alpha Tristan, bending over backward to gain his affection. But he always disregarded you and your feelings. He didn't care if you were hurting, didn't care if you were sick. In fact, he continually slighted and ignored you in favor of his mistress, Megan. It's sad, but your husband has never loved you, bestie. And he hasn't treated you well either." Liz continued as time slipped by. My heart twisted with every word, each revelation a fresh wound. "After you got married, you kept trying to please Alpha Tristan, bending over backward to gain his affection. But he didn't care whether you were hurting or not. Whenever you were sick, instead of taking care of you, Tristan would go out to meet Megan. Your alpha husband never loved you, bestie. It's sad, but that's how your life was in the past 5 years." I could barely believe all I'd heard. Had I really loved Tristan so much that I allowed him to treat me like that? I may have been nothing more than a maid, but that didn't excuse for the injustice I experienced. It seemed I had poured my heart and soul into a marriage that was nothing but a facade. It felt like a desperate attempt to hold on to something that was never truly mine. "And your personality," Liz continued, her voice laced with sorrow, "it changed. You became more and more paranoid. You became depressed and often delusional. You became secluded as well, even from me." The bitter laughter that bubbled up from my throat tasted of regret. How could I have become this she-wolf that Liz was telling me about? How could I have allowed Tristan to transform me into someone so pitiful? It wasn't about my status either. It seemed I had more self-respect as a maid than as his Luna. Was there any hope of reclaiming the she-wolf I used to be? "What's your plan now?" Liz asked. I took a deep breath. "I want to get back to who I was." Liz seemed very excited. "You know what," Liz said. "I'll always be there for you no matter whatever choice you're about to make. Now let me get the doctor so he can check on you." "Thank you, Liz," I said. My warrior best friend gave me a wink before leaving the room. Once she was gone, I allowed the tears to flow, allowed myself to mourn the pitiful she-wolf I had become after marrying Tristan. "Don't cry, Elaine," Nia whispered inside my head. "You're no longer alone. Me and Liz will be with you every step of the way." I smiled. Nia was right, and I no longer felt alone. And for sure, it would change the course of my marriage to the Alpha. Now that I was woken up from the shackles of unrequited love, he bound me with her reassurance. The doctor visited my hospital room, letting me know I was ready to be discharged. Relief and fear filled me. Leaving the hospital meant going back to the Alpha mansion and facing Tristan, and I didn't know what to expect. The doctor drew my attention once more. "You still need to rest, Luna Elaine. Your body needs time to get strong again," he said in a serious tone. After he departed, Liz and I thanked the doctor as we gathered my things, feeling both nervous, and left the hospital together. I remained quiet, Liz's words about my marriage echoing in my mind, making me unsure of what awaited me at home. Tristan hadn't visited me in the hospital, confirming Liz's stories about our loveless relationship. It wasn't that I thought she lied. I had just hoped she had been exaggerating. But his wife had been hospitalized after an auto accident, and he didn't even bother with a single visit? That destroyed any hope I had that Tristan cared for me at all. "This is it," Liz said when we arrived at the Alpha mansion. The mansion was huge and beautiful, with fancy decorations all around. The surrounding gardens were well maintained, with quaint walking paths. Stepping out of the car, I stared in wonder. It looked so impressively luxurious. It felt surreal to realize I used to work here. Yet I seemed to have forgotten what it looked like. "Are you ready for this, bestie?" Liz asked as we unloaded my things. I took a deep breath and forced a smile. As if I have a choice. A few minutes later, I stepped into the house, thinking I might still be able to find happiness somehow. Life as a Luna couldn't be that bad. Could it? Liz helped me settle into my bedroom and smiled at me reassuringly before she left. Call me if you need anything. I sure will. Once she was gone, the house felt empty and quiet, giving off a lonely vibe. Even though the mansion was luxurious and I felt terribly alone. I wasn't alone, however. Approaching footsteps echoed, stirring a sense of unease within me. The voice that followed was enough to make my heart race with nervous anticipation. So you're back. The words pierced the air with icy coldness, sending a chill through the room. Slowly, I turned to face Tristan himself, my husband and the alpha of the wolf silver pack. Elaine. My gaze fell upon Tristan, and I couldn't help but be struck by him. He had matured into a chiseled man who exuded confidence and allure. Well, he was an alpha now, so this was pretty much expected. I looked at him and studied his features. He was chiseled, and his neatly styled dark hair framed his face and enhanced his rugged charm, with a defined jawline and commanding stature. He was far from the boy next door image I remembered him to be. Yet, despite that 5 years had passed, he still retained the same magnetic presence that had captivated me during our younger days. However, his undeniable handsomeness struck me. Yet, cold and piercing blue eyes sent a shiver down my spine, and hinted at a depth of intensity one hadn't fully comprehended before. Despite that, I still felt an inexplicable pull towards him. Sudden panic filled me. My infatuation with him was still present deep within me. Don't just sit there. Help me get changed, he commanded, jolting me out of my delusion and making me grit my teeth. So I hadn't just been a wife he ignored. I'd been a wife he was also treated like a slave. Well, what are you waiting for? Go get me some. Why don't you just do it yourself? I snapped. It's not hard to open your dresser and change. His eyes widened. It seemed he wasn't used to hearing me object to his demands. But it was different now. I wasn't about to let him abuse me again like he had, apparently, done in the past. He huffed and grabbed a shirt himself. I smiled to myself and relished the small victory. He scrutinized me for a moment, then broke the silence. Go with me to the party tonight. I know you're upset about Megan, so I decided to bring you instead of her. Just don't make another scene. I remained tight-lipped and hid my anger. As his wife and Luna, I should have been the one to accompany him to all functions and engagements. Taking someone else shouldn't even have been an option. Sadly, it seemed his mistress was shameless enough to take over my role without batting an eye. They were both jerks in my eyes. Maybe the moon goddess had made me forget my time with Tristan as a way of saving me from my misery? She may have been tired of seeing me cry and wail in pain. So maybe forgetting was more of a blessing than a curse? At the very least, Tristan no longer had the hold on me that Liz had told me about. And I wouldn't let him control me like he used to. It was different now. Because now, I would no longer sit idly or cry all day under his abuse. Starting today, I would fight for myself. And that's what I would do starting today. I went to leave the room, but Tristan grabbed my arm and pinned me to the wall. What are you doing? I asked, trying to hide my nervousness by staring steadily into his eyes. Tristan smirked, and then leaned in to kiss me. Oh hell no. I wouldn't let him. Get off of me, I shouted, pushing him as hard as I could. Tristan looked surprised, and the next moment, I saw him glaring at me. Surprise passed over his face before it morphed into a glare. What's your problem? He asked, annoyed. I looked at him dangerously. You're not going to kiss me, huh? I won't let you touch me ever again. Ever.